All right, so the meeting is now live and you may begin.
Okay. Well, I just want to welcome everybody again to the first virtual environmental meetup and roundtable. We did a roundtable back in about 2008, CLIAC, when Lou Probst was the chair of CLIAC. And it was really a good get together. And through that get together, we came up with, we drilled down to one initiative, and that was lake management plans that I took to council, and with another councillor, we passed at council, and we're still doing initiatives with that. So that's great. So I have to, because this is a meeting, I have to go through the administrative business. So I'm going to ask for a adoption of the agenda from one of the CLIAC members, please. Okay, Doug and Deb. Okay, all in favor? Great, Carrie. And any declarations of pecuniary interest? None noted. Okay, so here we go. We're going to, first of all, we have Denise Williams with us. And she headed up she was the council rep for the Healthy Environment Plan. And she's just going to give us a little overview of where we're at. So take it away, Denise.
Great, thank you, Pat, and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here today. Am I okay to share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One moment. Sorry, guys. Okay, can you see that slide that says Kawartha Lake's Healthy Environment Plan?
Yep.
Okay, good to go. All right. Okay, so thanks everyone for having the Kawartha Lake's Healthy Environment Plan on your agenda for today. We call it at the city, we call it the HEP, lovingly, just to give it a name. And I'd like to acknowledge CLIAC for initiating and executing this meetup today. The HEP identifies an annual event as a deliverable in the plan. And as stewards of our environment, it's really great to be here to do this. So I'll jump right in and I'll give you a little bit of, just because of a diverse audience, give you a little bit of an overview of how the plan came together and then what our next steps are as far as implementing the plan. If I could. Oh boy. It's not moving.
Oh.
We are having our challenges today.
There's a bug in the system for sure.
Just give me a second. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so we know that there's warmer weather in every season, fewer cold days, and my slide is wonky. There's a lot more freeze thaw, fewer cycles in the spring and fall. I'm speaking to the converted. You all know about climate change, so I won't take any more of your time on that. But we do know that the cost of energy is increasing as well. So we add to all of these pieces. The Kawartha Lake's Healthy Environment Plan was put together as a comprehensive strategy, and we're one of the few strategies in Ontario and in Canada actually that responds to both mitigation and adaptation as it relates to climate change. We did use an established framework, actually two of them, to put the plan together. So we have our FCM Partners for Climate Protection framework. So we have completed our emissions inventory, we have set a reduction target, and we have developed a plan. So we are at the implementation stage of the PCP program, and we have received all of our milestones, and we'll have a presentation to council, hopefully at some point later this year, for both our corporate and community emissions. For the adaptation side of the plan, we did the ICLEI Canada program, so the Building Adaptive and Resilient Communities. So again, we've done 1 to 3 milestones or steps, and we are at the implementation stage. The plan was developed collaboratively. We had a steering committee, a working group. We had several engagement sessions. We had ambassadors that were out to a bunch of community events back in 2018, and we had a number of workshops across the city. And we also made sure that we reviewed and identified any actions that were in current city plans, such as the Integrated Community Sustainability Plan. So we did all of those pieces, and I'll jump right to our community emissions. So in 2015, we chose that as our baseline year. We were emitting 647,000 tons of emissions, which equals at that time per capita about 7.8 tons. So without local action, that would still be reduced a little bit, but we did set a target, and it actually sets targets for each of the different areas. So we are in line with the federal targets to reduce by 20% by 2030 from 2015. So that puts us in line with the federal targets. Along with the community emissions, we have our corporate emissions. So we are 1% of the community emissions. However, we did note that buildings and fleet are our biggest challenges corporately. And we will be the corporate leader, or the leader in the community, as we council has put in their strategic plan for this year, a green city charter, which will help us frame and implement our corporate commitment to GHG reduction. So as you can see, buildings and fleet are our two biggest opportunities to reduce GHGs. Here's our target for corporate GHG emission reduction. So we'll be looking at those areas, and again, focusing on that, reducing by 20% at 2030 from our 2015 levels. So the outcomes will be to avoid significant energy costs, reduce our emissions, and meet the federal targets and our community targets. And our resiliency outcomes will be to reduce flood impact, the stress on people, our groundwater recharge, our damage to power systems, and much more. Again, you would have more expertise on this than I would. So the plan addresses 24 strategies in 9 different theme areas, and then there are cross-cutting goals for each. So agriculture, land use, the natural environment, waste, energy systems, buildings, people and health, and transportation. And each of these themes have action items associated with reduction targets, as well as adaptation strategies. Woven throughout the entire plan is the economic opportunity for our community. The adaptation side of the plan could inform considerable job creation and redefine parts of our economy. And we'll also keep energy dollars in our community instead of sending them off to various energy providers. So a summary of our mitigation strategies and where exactly we will realize these, and I don't need to go through these, but just by program area, there are some fairly specific targets set for the community and for the corporate. I might just ask, just for the sound quality, if anyone is not muted, if they could. I'm just concerned about the video. So next steps is our implementation plan. So we are looking at a governance framework or structure. There will be a communication, engagement, and education component for the community. And there will be a financial plan to fund this program or fund the implementation of the Kawartha Lakes Healthy Environment Plan. And then there will be work plan programs. So some specific actions relating to buildings, transportation, and some of the other areas to actually implement this plan. So that is very quickly, I know you're pressed for time, so I wanted to be brief. That is the Kawartha Lakes Healthy Environment Plan where we are right now. So I'll pause there if anyone has any questions or if there's any other information I can provide.
Great. Well, any questions? Yeah, I don't see, I just see, I don't have the whole screen up. Okay. I just have launch meeting here now. Okay. I guess I need a motion to receive Denise's deputation. So can I have a motion? Okay, Deb and Ginny?
Sure.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we're going to get on with our other deputations, and we're going to start off with some a group that's close to my heart is Environmental Action Bob Cajun. And I'm not sure if it's John Bush or Richard Fetty who is going to speak. So you're on. Richard, you need to unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Our little group of about 24 people in Bob Cajun, our mandate is to undertake projects that benefit the community and the environment. And our first project about a dozen years ago was the distribution of energy efficient light bulbs to every household in Bob Cajun. And the project, our second project after that was to start up the very successful Bob Cajun Farmers Market that before COVID was getting a couple of hundred people every Saturday from the end of May right through till October. We've also built a number of community gardens in Bob Cajun, and in 2013 we partnered with the city to build a really pretty little 8-acre park, wilderness park, in the northeast corner of Bob Cajun. It's got hiking trails, nature interpretation signs, and a large bee garden, our pollinator patch. And I don't know if my colleague John Bush is on. John, if you're there, you can talk about our current project.
Yes, thanks, Richard. You can hear me, everybody?
We can.
Good. Back in 2015 through 2017, we developed an active transportation plan for the village. We were able to obtain funding through the Trillium Foundation and hired consultants that were very strong in that field. And we presented a plan for the Village of Bob Cajun to City Council in 2017, which they endorsed. And to that end, they're unrolling an active transportation plan for the larger city, Kawartha Lakes. So we're quite proud of the project and pleased that the city has taken on their own initiative. And secondly, we are underway right now raising funds to reconstruct a dry stack stone wall at the just in front of the Sienna long-term care home on Canal Street here in town. It became evident when we were doing a walking on it for the active transportation plan back in 2016 that would be a wonderful thing to restore and explain the heritage of the village through the Boyd family and whatever's left of their estates. So that's underway right now, and we have a multitude of other smaller projects that we have going on from time to time.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, John. I want to actually introduce Tracy Richardson, Councillor Richardson, and she's going to go forward and be the coordinator, moderator for the rest of the meeting. And I'm just going to, I guess, pop in and ask for motions after each deputation. So I need a motion to receive Environmental Action Bob Cajun's deputation. Okay, Doug and Ginny, all in favor? Carried. Great. Take it away, Tracy.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. The aim today is to address environmental issues and concerns and to possibly find new initiatives that CLIAC and our community groups can actually champion together. At this time, I guess we should have done this before the first deputation, but I do want to recognize all the CLIAC members who are taking notes and looking forward to hearing all the different initiatives today. So let's have some fun. If you don't mind, if we just give a quick wave, I just want to introduce our CLIAC members, Pat Warren, our chair, Deborah Pearson, Ginny Collins, Doug Lowe's, Ryan McGaugh, Karen Quinn, Barry Snyder, Josh Feltman, Aaron McGregor, Acting Director of Development Services, Richard Hawley, and the lady that keeps us all in line, Erica Howlett. So thank you for that. And also at this time, I want to give a shout out to Jamie Morris, who championed the idea and organized today's virtual environmental roundtable. Thank you very much. I think it's going to be a fun day. We're going to learn a lot of new things that are going to be able to help and collaborate across the city of Kawartha Lakes. One of the things that we do want to connect with all of the groups today is just, we want to connect with the environmental groups. We want to be able to identify environmental priorities and cooperative actions between the groups and the city. And that's why I brought Denise in today as well, and Leah Berry. And we want to reach out to the public because there's a lot of people out there that probably would like to get involved with these environmental groups. So thanks again. We're really happy that you're all here today. Let's drill out some new ideas and off we go. So the next deputation, thank you.
Okay. We have, I guess, Mika Schipper from Gaminge Nature Center. Mika, are you there? I did see Mika earlier. I saw her lovely face there. Can you hear me, Mika?
I'm seeing about half of the faces, half of the squares on the screen are blank. I don't know what you're seeing. So I think a lot of people have not gotten onto this Zoom meeting.
Well, I did see Mika. Ryan, are you there? Ryan?
Mika was here, but she's not now.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm looking at the participant
Oh, there she
list.
is.
It looks like she's still on. Mika, if we could just ask you to unmute yourself. You should see on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen a mute and unmute button.
I don't see her in the screen. It looks like she might have stepped away. So maybe we'll go down to Kawartha Land Trust and have John give us his,
Sure, I'm happy to jump in. And I was going to talk about Gaminge Nature Center as one of our protected properties, but I guess I won't do that because Mika hasn't had a chance to ring that bell yet. But so my name is John. I'm the Executive Director at Kawartha Land Trust, or KLT, and we are a registered charity here operating in the city of Kawartha Lakes, as well as the city of Peterborough and Peterborough County. Our mission as an organization is to care for the lands entrusted to us and help others protect the land that they love in the Kawarthas. And ultimately, we're doing that to fulfill a vision of a future where the beauty and the biodiversity and the health of the Kawarthas is maintained and enhanced, and a future where 30% of the region is characterized by protected natural spaces and connections. So mostly we operate by accepting gifts of ecologically important land or legal interests in those lands in the form of a conservation easement agreement. And currently we protect over 4,500 acres of land across 22 properties, as well as assisting in the management of 5 additional properties across the region. Here in the city of Kawartha Lakes, we protect 8 individual properties, either through ownership or through easement, including a significant portion of the Emily Creek provincially significant watershed, our wetland, a 650-acre wildlife preserve near Coboconk, and some lands that are adjacent to the Fleetwood Creek Conservation Area, which also form part of a corridor of protected lands in Bethany Hills. Many of the properties that we protect, including 3 of those here in the city of Kawartha Lakes, serve not only as nature preserves, but also provide walking trails for residents and visitors to enjoy, and enhancing connection to nature is a really important part of our work as we see it. So our approach to conservation is focused on working collaboratively with landowners and with government and with the community so that we can successfully complete projects that benefit everyone, not just an individual or a species and not just an individual project. A few years ago, there was something called the Kawarthas Naturally Connected project, which was a 10-year research cycle that involved a number of people here involved on this call, as well as the municipalities, First Nations, the conservation authorities. And out of that came a preferred scenario, which attempted to identify an ideal natural heritage system for our region. So right now, one of our main focuses is on implementing that preferred scenario, which is going to result really in doing a lot of work to increase connectivity and build nature corridors across the region and in the city of Kawartha Lakes. Often, a nice side effect of building nature corridors is that you create a great opportunity for trail networks to be created as well as you're connecting different protected and natural areas. So we're looking forward to connecting with more owners of ecologically important lands in the area to explore both permanent protection options, as well as ways that their land management can contribute to that healthier environment that we're all looking for. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thanks, John. I need a motion from our CLIAC members to receive John's deputation. Deb, and a seconder, Ginny. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Over to you again, Tracy. There you go.
Okay, it looks like Mika's not back yet, so we'll keep carrying on. Can we go to Chris Appleton for Lake Management Planning Committee?
Hello. So, you can hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So, what I'm going to talk about today is not so much new and novel ideas as just continuing to implement some of the very important recommendations of the lake plans. One of those, of course, is shoreline naturalization. That leads into the current planning exercise, which Richard Hawley is championing for bylaw consolidation. I would like to see more regulation on shoreline development. Outside of that, I think on the volunteer side, there are opportunities to collaborate with other groups like Watersheds Canada to get plants planted on shorelines. I know I was listening to the KLT meeting in the weekend, and Watersheds Canada has worked with KLT, and I think Kawartha Conservation has had plans in the past with our matching grants. So a foundation will say provide $250 and the homeowner provides $250, and they provide some expertise on planting local indigenous plants. I think that's a great idea because that's accessible. That doesn't take a lot of strategic thinking. It requires execution, which is to access funding, have a program in place, and get volunteer shoreline owners to participate. Watersheds Canada seems to have a very good program in place, and I believe they are collaborating with Kawartha Land Trust. So that would be my recommendation today, is to put more effort into that. It's there, it's I don't call it low-hanging fruit, but it's doable, doesn't need a lot of design, just needs some execution, needs some funding and some volunteers and some execution. And I think shoreline naturalization is one of the most obvious and important things that we can do, because we have developed so much of the shoreline already. And habitat destruction is one of the greatest concerns I have. Some of you have heard me say this before, but if you don't know, Pigeon Lake is named after the carrier pigeon. And once upon a time, when the settlers arrived, it was said to be 25% of the avian biomass. Flocks counted in the millions, if not billions. And they're now extinct because we either shot them or destroyed their habitat. So in the space of about 150 years, we wiped out the most dominant bird in the lake named after it. So that's the kind of stunning facts that make things, we got to stop hardening shorelines. Now's the time. So with that, I'll just reinforce, I think shoreline naturalization should be a major initiative to pursue. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chris. So I need another motion to receive Chris Appleton's deputation. Okay, Tracy, and a seconder, Doug. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Tracy.
Thank you. Okay, I still don't see Mika, so we'll carry on. Canopy Project Kawartha Lakes with John Ireland and Amy Terrell. Are you guys there? Yes, you are.
I see Mika Shipper. Okay.
Can you folks hear us?
We can.
Yeah, okay, we good to go?
Oops, yep. Good to go.
Okay, Canopy Project Kawartha Lakes started off with 9 people who decided that we wanted to do something in the community to enhance the canopy, but also to do something in the community to protect the trees that we have. That's got to do with education, health, the well-being of everybody. We looked at our first proposal, which was could be at the Boys and Girls Club. We found out that they needed a few trees here, like about 80 trees. So we're completed 2 plantings already. We have 1 planned for the next couple of weeks, and we have 1 planned for September. In all total, there'll be 80 trees in the first canopy project. The second canopy project, we decided that we would help out the Binney and Smith Community Garden next to Crayola. And at this point, 20 fruit trees have been planted there. And also too, they're putting in a blueberry patch and they're going to put some grapes in. That's to one of the donors that we have from the affinity group. The donor and his partner donated a substantial amount of money to put those trees in the blueberry bushes. So that's where we're at now. Amy, the club is going to be working on 80 trees. And I should mention right now that we are deeply we deeply owe John Bush from Bobcaygeon for his help and his support. He supervised the planting of the trees and he did a wonderful job. We're looking forward to having him back down again. We're looking at another canopy project, and it got a little bit to do with the historic mill district that may be coming on board. We want to make sure that everybody who in that district who has wanted a tree, right, on their property from the town, that they know how to contact the town and get a tree on the property. We also want to protect some of the trees that we have in that area because we have some quite exceptional trees because it's an older part of downtown Lindsay. So we're going to be looking at that coming up. We have two other small things that we find quite interesting. The first is we found out that we have some pretty rare apple trees in the town of Lindsay in a couple of spots. So we're hooking up with the college, and the college is going to perhaps work with us on trying to identify them and maybe share them around and grow them. We're really looking forward to that. We've also been contacted recently by Mr. Harry Stoddard, who's the executive director of the Lindsay exhibition. They are painfully short of trees down there. Like, it's almost embarrassing compared to what they had in their old spot. Big trees there, beautiful trees. So they're looking at doing something down there, and they've asked the Canopy Project to have a look in on them. We're very active. We receive donations from people. We have trees in people's names in honor of them. We're just going to continue on with our work, and we love it. Amy, did I leave anything out?
I'll add just one. I'm working this little camera. It's very exciting. First time using the little camera in the boardroom here. Just to add to John's excellent summary, he mentioned that Fleming College has been supportive. They're a huge supporter of this project at the Boys and Girls Club, so I just wanted to give a shout out to them. And one of the things they've been able to do, I know Richard Hawley is on the line, and what we are doing is actually fulfilling our site plan that's been approved by the city. And so the Canopy Project, it's amazing. It's like a gift coming to us to raise dollars in order for us to plant those trees to finish our site plan that has been approved by the city. And Richard agreed that, so with the college's involvement, they've actually helped us to also diversify the trees that were on the original plan that was done by a landscape architect. And just with some more awareness about, everybody's seen the example of the emerald ash borer, which has decimated the ash trees. So rather than be too mono culture here, we have a lot more diversity built into our plan, and that's all thanks to Fleming College. And we've also had students on site helping us to plant those trees, and they will continue to do that going forward. And I see just a comment. So we've started in Lindsay here, but we really want to make this city of Kawartha Lakes wide. So we've put out some feelers to some other sites, and it's one of those things that we'd love to hear from other sites within the city of Kawartha Lakes, so that we could identify future projects and continue to work with those local partners. We have we were the pilot project, so we have an understanding of what the project or the landowner's responsibilities are and what the volunteers will do. And we'd really like to spread our wings for sure beyond Lindsay. So I'll just mention one other thing. Another way that the club kind of tied in nicely to the Canopy Project's goals is that education is also one of the missions of the Canopy Project. And we, of course, we've been able to offer some really neat educational, virtual education here to the kids at the Boys and Girls Club. or at BGC, and we'll continue to do that. And we've had also volunteer students from LCBI helping to plant the trees here and water them. So we've tried to tie in a lot of things. One final shout out, I know there are others on the call involved with the Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes, but they are, that is the source. They are receiving donations on our behalf, and so they are our partner on the charitable side of things. I think that's it.
Great, thanks, Amy and John. Okay, I need another motion by CLIAC members, please, to receive their deputation. Deb, Ginny, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, Tracy.
Okay, thank you. I think I see Mika go by. Can you hear us?
That's her husband.
Okay. Okay, we'll move down to 3.6, the Kawartha Cycling Club with By Art. So if you can give us an update on what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you. We should have grabbed her when she walked by.
Yes.
Anyway, really, it's a beautiful afternoon, everyone. I mean, you should all be out cycling, actually, but enough of that. Let's go through the meeting. Just to tell you a little bit about the Kawartha Cycling Club, we were established in 2006. And primarily, the primary objective of the club is to foster and promote the sport and pastime of cycling, and to organize events, promote cycling, racing, training, social, and pleasure rides. We've been involved in quite a few activities in the area. As a club, we applied for MTO training grant, which we received. We trained 6 members as instructors in the CAN Bike training system, which is a nationwide training system for cycling, and it's very good. If you're having trouble hearing me, I'm on ExploreNet, so it never really works very well. I hope right. We did train 6 members as instructors, and since that time, we've held numerous CAN Bike training sessions for our members and others, including the schools in the area, as well as the Boys and Girls Club. We also worked with the city of Kawartha Lakes to develop several cycling routes and applied for grants to cover Share the Road signage. So you've probably seen the Share the Road signs on some of the roads in the area. Okay. Sorry, I think we've got another person on here.
Yeah, Mika, can you just put you on your video on mute, and then we'll come back to you for the next presentation. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have maps that are on the city's website, but also you can get a map, a physical map that you can take with you of the different routes in the city of Kawartha Lakes. We've worked with the health unit in reviewing proposed housing developments to encourage active transportation inclusion. We've had reviews of a number of the upcoming new developments. We also applied for a Trillium grant for the Active Again program in the city of Kawartha Lakes, working with the Kawartha Lakes Sports and Recreation Council. This was done the year before COVID in the summer, and it was quite successful. So we covered all sorts of different activities to try and get people out and active. We've organized 2 away cycling trips for our members to various communities in Ontario. And we applied for funding for a welcome cyclist repair station in the Old Mill Park area, which I think is probably completed now. That's on the other side of the city. We participated in the sustainability plan for the city, which was a number of years ago, and worked with planning on secondary plans for Lindsay, Fenland Falls, and Bobcaygeon. Currently, we have participated and hope to continue to support the long-awaited active transportation plan for the city. It was encouraging what happened in Bobcaygeon. We did get approval from council to initiate this study, and that was quite some time ago. And I hear that today it might go out for tender. There's a chance it might go out for tender today. It's going to take a long time to finish this plan, but at least it's a starting point. We are participating in fund sourcing for a bike repair station in Fenland Falls, and we will be applying for a chest grant for a welcome cyclist station at the redeveloped Queen's Square project, which we will be applying for towards the end of the year. So we do have some challenges. COVID has been a real challenge because we have, obviously we couldn't get out and cycle as groups during this time. So we extended our 2020 membership through to the end of 2021, and it's really impacted the club financially, but it was the best thing to do at the time. We have succession issues as a club, which I think perhaps a lot of clubs do when they're moving on. And we're a little bit disappointed by the lack of support and interest in council for the work in the past, such as the different plans have been developed, and the extremely slow active transportation plan development. We'd really like to see that go ahead a lot faster, and almost as fast as the work on off-road vehicles seems to be going. So thank you.
Oh, Pat, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was trying to unmute it. Yeah, anyway. So yes, I need a motion. Thank you for Art Honeberg's deputation. Okay, Ginny and Deb, all in favor? Carried. Okay, Tracy.
Okay, yes, thank you. We'll pop back to 3.2. Mika, if you could give us an update for the Gaming Nature Center, please.
Gaming Nature Center, yeah. So we have been shut down. Our last income was on February 13, 2020. As of this morning, we found out that we can have camps, which we just had decided to move that to August instead of February. So Gaming Nature Center, what we're trying to do is build sustainable, healthy ecosystems for the current generation and for future generations, and strengthening our connection with the indigenous people. We almost a year ago, started a partnership with No-Go Friendship Center in Peterborough, and that is succeeding very, very well, and we're very pleased with that. As you may know, our Discovery Shack, which was a building that housed lots of educational material, fish, birds, mammals, and so on, has been completely destroyed. We are in the middle of getting that renovated, and got new doors in there, new floor, it's all painted. And once the floor, the tiles are on the floor, then we can start putting the exhibits back together, which the hikers that we currently have coming in, probably due to COVID, that is a place to go out and to walk, but they miss the Discovery Shack. They love going in there and check the exhibits that we had there. So regularly we have a forest school that hasn't been running at all. So we hope maybe in the fall that we can run in the forest school. That is basically a complete outdoor school. The kids are here, they bring their backpacks inside, and that is the last time that they are inside. It doesn't matter what the weather is, and they love it. Parents love it too. If everything would be okay, we have a large number of workshops. I'll give you one example. Each month there is a workshop along the trails just to see how nature progresses. And that goes 12 months during the year. So that is each time they can see how certain, especially the undergrowth in the forest, how that is developing and what is new. And she does medical herbs walks that some people love. She does moon walks at the full moon, which is very popular. But we haven't been able to do any of those workshops. The rest, we have 6 large family events during the year, and we have our indigenous programming. We have been using this time of very little activities to look at how we could do things differently, and that is a project in progress right now. We'll just let everybody know when that is complete, what we're going to do and how we're going to deal. We're missing the activities a lot here on the Nature Center. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Mika. I need another resolution from our EAC committee. Okay, Doug, and a seconder. Deb, all in favor? Carrie, thank you. Okay.
Okay, off to me. Mika, can you just put your computer on mute, please?
Pardon?
Put it on mute.
I miss it.
You need to put your computer on mute because we can hear all your background noise. You need to mute yourself.
There we go. Yep, perfect. Thank you. We'll move on to 3.7, which is the Kawartha Lakes Library by Lindsay Bowen.
Requires more staff time. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay. So thanks for inviting me here today. I'm largely here just to hear about all the other wonderful projects that these groups have to offer. So thank you very much for that. My connection to this, we've partnered with Kawartha Conservation and a few other organizations in the past few months to offer story walks in the community. And our sort of contribution to that, I guess, is bringing awareness to areas and just bringing more people to different areas such as Kawartha Conservation. We also offer sort of that education piece related to the environment sometimes. We've worked with members of our community in the past to create seed bomb workshops when we were able to do programs in-house. We've also done Mason Bee Homes as a program as well. So if anyone has any other ways that we can be more connected and bring that more awareness piece to the library or to the community, we'd be happy to hear that at a later date. So again, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Lindsay. Again, I need a resolution, please, to receive. Deb, Tracy, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to 3.8, which is Kawartha Trans Canada Trail Association. Al McPherson.
Hey, I'll talk quick, fast, and I'll get through this. Okay, I have a whole list of things. My focus is on the environment. The Kawartha Trans Canada Trail does a lot of social and economic stuff, and I could list of that as well. So you'll hear me only talk about the environment and what we have done. Kawartha Trans Canada Trail is part of the national trail, our trail that connects Canada from sea to sea to sea. So it's 25,000. Our 53 kilometers connects it. So you could get on our trail and go to Ottawa if you like, and a continuous trail. So pretty unique in terms of being able to have a national trail in your backyard. Kawartha Trans Canada Trail is a not-for-profit charitable organization, and we were established in 2007. Now, Kawartha has about 50 community members that stretches the 53 kilometers east to west in the city of Kawartha Lakes. So our trail, I like to call it our green corridor, goes from Mill to Highway 7, County Road 2 to Highway 7. So that means Little Britain and Oakwood and Lindsay and Fenland Falls and Rayboro, they're all part of this trail system that goes across. The trail is managed by a not-for-profit, like I said, a group. The funding that's provided, now we have been, remember, around from 2007, is provided by donations, sponsors, and grants. We do not receive any funding, Tracy, any funding from the city, and we never have. Okay, is that good? Is that bad? Well, we could have another discussion on that. Yet over the past since 2007, we have invested over $1 million into the trail. This is not municipal taxes. This is money that we get donations all the time for it, partly because it's a national trail. Again, I want you to think the trail is more than a trail, it's a corridor. So when you look at it east to west, you're looking at a 66-foot wide corridor that connects our city together from one end to the other. So the trail is the activity part where you'll cycle and you'll walk and so on. But we are very active in terms of maintaining the environment on both sides and working with adjacent farmers, because they're much more happy to see a trail like that managed than what it was before, where it's not managed. Some of the things that we have accomplished in the last few years, and I hope I didn't lose you.
No.
Did I lose you?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, we can hear you.
If you can hear me, that's good. I think I cut this off. Environmentally, we've done interpretive panels on the history and the environment along the trail. So you can travel the trail by bike, by walking, whatever, not by motorized use. The only motorized use is the snowmobiles during the wintertime. So you can stop at the bridges and learn about the environment, the waterways, and about the vegetation. We developed through lesson plans for the schools, because we have 7 schools adjacent or very close to that trail. And those lesson plans are built on the curriculum done by the government. And so they match, the teacher can match what activity on the trail to the lesson plan. And that is really important because that's biology and so on. And all they have to do is walk out from the schoolyard. We've installed over 30 birdhouses. Should I say the schools have installed over 30 birdhouses. We actually have built birdhouses with the schools to put on the trail. Remember, I want to repeat this, but it's a green corridor. It's not just the trail. We have a pollinator workshop, for example, I'm jumping ahead, happening right now, adjacent to the trail, being built and managed by senior citizens. And so it will be ready by the end of June. We do Earth Day cleanup all the time, every April. And with our partners, we have the Lions Club from Rayboro. We have the Lions Club from Omimi. We have different groups of the Green Trails Alliance. We have different organizations that clean up every Earth Day. We have a website that promotes the environment in terms of the trail environment, but remember the green corridor environment. We have won an award from the Lindsay District Chamber of Commerce, an environmental award for what we've done. We have been recognized by the Ontario government, by the Ministry of Tourism, as a trail of distinction. We have installed 2 years ago a trail counter, and won't tell you where it is because it's buried in the trail. And as a 1 full year, from October 1st to October 1st, we have recorded over 60,000 users. And most of them, I have to say, are from Peterborough. Yes, and but there's a lot of others, because we have done 5 different surveys by summer students who ask people where you're from, if you're spending money, and so on. So the big thing is that we're getting people from Markham and Scarborough and so on. Now with COVID, I can say that those numbers are pretty high as well, but hopefully they keep their distance. We have signs up for that. We had did an invasive species manual for the whole corridor, done by Fleming College, with photographs and so on, trying to encourage the removal of invasive species. We have planted over 1,000 trees, shrubs and so on along the corridor. And then we've also partnered with like I said, 7 schools. They do a variety of things on the trail. Anyway, I just want to wrap up because I know there's a lot there, but what we are really interested in is the active transportation plan. To me, it's appalling to wait, I think, this long, especially when I hear such a great situation where we had already a plan being done for the city, in terms of the the healthy environment plan. What a connection! We want to reduce some carbon. Just get the active transportation plan done, and you can contribute to that plan that's been city motivated. Anyway, I think I'd like to leave it at that, and hopefully you'll get, like I said, the social and the economic side of it I've left out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Al. I believe that you are going to speak for your good wife also.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'll get one motion, Tracy, after Al speaks regarding the Green Trails Alliance. Okay?
Okay, I can do that.
We'll do it afterwards, Ginny. Yeah. You
can do it for both. So
yeah.
the Green Trails Alliance has a membership of about 120 people. It's a not-for-profit organization. It started in 2005. It was established to advocate really for the safe and sustainable non-motorized system for health, social, and economic and environmental stuff. Okay, recently it's focused on Lindsay, being the largest urban area, and the focus is mostly to get more of those benefits there. They want to see more expansion of green space. Green Trail does. They want to see improved air quality, and I'm sorry, recently with all this ATV stuff, I have a real problem with that, and so does Green Trails. Active and healthy lifestyles, certainly. I mean, they want to get people out walking and hiking, so and riding bikes and so on. It's all part of the active transportation. Some of the highlights that the Green Trails have been able to accomplish, and probably not, is that they're always getting sponsorships and they're always getting donations and so on and grants. But the Legacy Trail, which is the north end of William Street, was created by the Green Trails. It would have never happened without them. And I walk that trail all the time. It is the most busiest trail, I think, in the whole city of Kawartha Lakes, constantly, no matter what time you're on that trail. And it picks up on the heritage of that area too. Carew Park, which is another trail along the Scugog River. The Green Trails won an accessible award by the city because it was designed to be fully accessible. And they planted shoreline shrubs and stuff like that to protect the shoreline. And they installed interpretive panels along the Scugog River, highlighting the environmental benefits of the river and the heritage value. And finally, they did produce the Parks and Trails map for Lindsay, which is distributed all over for people to enjoy our parks and trails within the Lindsay area. Green Trails is a strong supporter of the City of Kawartha Lakes Active Transportation Plan, as mentioned. They are really concerned, and I'm speaking to my wife and all the Green Trails members, that the plan will eventually get done, but they're more concerned about the adoption of it by the council and the implementation of it by council. So often we have seen it received, but never approved. And there's many things on the shelf that I can go back to that has been received. So hopefully we can move forward. There's lots to do with the environment and lots to make a difference, and Green Trails wants to be part of it. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Al. Now I can get a motion from Ginny. And second by Deb. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
So that was carried for 3.8 and 3.9.
Yeah.
So moving to 3.10, we'll have the Walk Lindsay Advocacy Group by Glenda Morris, please. Thanks.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just want to thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce Walk Lindsay. This is a fledgling organization, and as a matter of fact, the invitation to participate in this meeting was the incentive to articulate what our purpose is and what our plans. But if I may use this minute first, before I talk about Walk Lindsay, I just want to say thank you to Art. Something he did not mention about the cycling club. In addition to their services for cyclists, their annual Kawartha Classic event is a major fundraiser for a place called Home. They raise enough money for us essentially to buy our groceries for a year. So in addition to all the other wonderful things they do, I want to recognize that. Okay, thank you. All right, back to Walk Lindsay. So the reason that we came into existence is to address the fact that pedestrian needs need to be addressed in city planning. In Lindsay, we can only speak for Lindsay because that's where I walk. When Chris Marshall was getting together the sort of terms of reference for the active transportation master plan, he asked about a group that could speak on behalf of walkers. And I realized that there is no such group. There's no voice to speak up about conditions that are required to make it easier and better and to get more people walking. I think it's universally agreed walking is a good thing, but we don't have a voice to address the needs of walkers. We have an active, very active trails organizations. We've heard about them, but this is an advocacy group for people who will walk to go to do their shopping, to get to school, to get to their workplace, to go to their appointments. That they want to get there fast, safely, efficiently. There are models. Toronto has a useful one called Walk Toronto, and Environmental Action Bob Cajun has a good start on the local conditions there. So the purpose of Walk Lindsay is to advocate for conditions that are conducive for walking as a method of transportation. We want to ensure people have more opportunities to choose walking to get where they need to go to conduct their day-to-day business, because walking is the only form of travel that is universally affordable and allows children and youth and people with specific medical conditions to travel independently. So we have 4 goals so far. First of all, to see improvements in the existing conditions with provision of much needed supports for people who are trying to do the right thing by walking where they need to go. And I just have to mention probably the most egregious example we have of poor conditions for walking to get where you need to go would be Kent Street westward from Angeline. It's a nightmare. Secondly, to have future infrastructure and plans for that infrastructure that gives priority to pedestrian safety, comfort, and convenience. Thirdly, to ensure that council and city staff are aware of the needs of pedestrians, the challenges they face, and the fixes that are needed. And fourthly, to see transportation planning that looks at moving people rather than cars, and to reduce the conflict between vehicles and pedestrians. So 2 major goals, major activities for achieving those goals. The first would be to contribute to the development of the active transportation master plan. And I think we can be particularly useful with that pedestrian audit. That would ensure that the master plan factors in walking conditions throughout the season to make sure that ice, snow, and darkness, for example, they have to be experienced in order to be addressed. Then secondly, the development of a pedestrian charter. And this would serve as a reminder to decision makers and the community at large that walking should be valued as the most sustainable of all forms of transportation. And when I think about how this can be of service to the city, thinking about what we heard today about the healthy environment plan, transportation being such a significant source of greenhouse gases, every trip that is taken on foot is a trip that does not emit greenhouse gas. And when I think of partnerships and I think about businesses, every customer that walks in is a customer they did not have to provide a parking spot for. I think we can have great alliances with schools, with transit, because everybody who gets on that bus had to walk to get to that bus. The tree canopy project would be another wonderful alliance because providing shade is a really necessary thing, and particularly, well, I'll say particularly for seniors, but for everybody. so that's where we are so far. And I'm as I said, really pleased to be able to be part of this, to hear what other organizations are doing and to make ourselves known. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Glenda. Need another motion to receive Glenda's deputation. Doug and Ginny, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to 311, which is the Kuchaching Conservancy by Ron Reed.
Thank you very much, Tracy. And I'm very glad to be able to speak to some of my old friends from City of Kawartha Lakes. Kuchaching Conservancy is another land trust, so we're a parallel organization to the Kawartha Land Trust. We've been around since 1993, so have a fair amount of history. Within the City of Kawartha Lakes, we've focused primarily on the Carden Alvar and the Carden Plain. So an area is focused on the former township of Carden, also the lower part of Dalton, and the upper part of Eldon Township and little bits around that. And over the past 25 years that we've been active there, we have been involved in the purchase, donation, other protection of roughly 9,000 acres of natural landscapes. So starting from 0 to 9,000 acres and still progressing. Of that, we own about 8 properties ourselves as an organization. On most of the larger projects, we've worked in cooperation with Nature Conservancy of Canada. So jointly fundraising, jointly working on acquisition deals where necessary. So for example, the most recent project, which closed just a few months ago, was an area called Cedarhurst Alvar, which is 1,362 acres, very strategically located in the area that we're interested in, and very significant in terms of the habitats on there. Both habitats for Alvar, which are these specialized vegetation communities on shallow limestone, but also very important for birds. And the Carden Alvar area is recognized as a national, important bird area of national significance. So that particular property was one where the previous owner was proposing to develop a very large scale gun range, which of course was met with considerable concern by the local community and by the birding and nature community more broadly, who were very upset about that prospect. And fortunately, after considerable groundwork and considerable fundraising, that project is now in the hands of the Nature Conservancy of Canada. One of the other areas were the other areas of cooperation. 2 of our large acquisitions have been turned over to Ontario Parks and now are the Carden Alvar Provincial Park. And we also work now extensively with the staff of the Queen Elizabeth Provincial Park, which is just to the north of us. And so part of our strategy is making strong connections with that park as a kind of an anchor area, a very large natural area, and also looking at corridors linking across the Black and Head River to the west. So we've been around for quite some time. We've been able to develop strong connections with the local landowners, including many of the local farmers and ranchers, and many of the quarry companies. So we try to work with everyone where we can, and we're not an advocacy organization. We're a land trust organization. So we work with whoever is involved with land. And we hope to be doing that for many years to come yet. So thanks for the opportunity to share where we are, and be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thanks, Ron. Need another motion to receive Ron's deputation. Okay, Doug and Ginny, all in favor? Carried, great. Okay.
Great, thank you. That was a great update too. Now to 312, Fenland Ford by Jim Armstrong.
Thanks very much, Tracy. Very happy to join in this discussion today. Fenland Forward was formed 10 years ago as a way of focusing improvement efforts in Fenland Falls and involving the community in various projects and initiatives. And then 6 years ago, out of that was formed Kawartha Works Community Co-op. And that has on a broader basis now involved other organizations, including Impact 32 in Bobcaygeon. The focus is on finding various ways to improve the community, and the sort of tangible benefit of being part of the co-op is sharing incorporation to be eligible for grants and sharing expenses such as insurance. And through those endeavors over the last 6 years, the participating projects have brought in $500,000 of grants and other funding, and have saved about $50,000 in insurance and other administrative costs. In terms of environmental involvement, right from the earliest days of Fenland Forward, we were advocating for improvement of the wastewater treatment system in Fenland Falls, which was an important development. And subsequently, we've been devoting a fair bit of time and effort to beautification activities around the loch in Fenland Falls and in Bobcaygeon. There's a lot of other activities that aren't directly in the environmental area, but they tie in. For example, we developed bike rental programs in both Bobcaygeon and Fenland to encourage active transportation on the trails. So at this point, I'm quite interested in joining in this discussion because the thing that struck me from Denise's update on the Healthy Environment Plan is that there's a lot of ambition in there about things we can accomplish as a city in this direction. And we have, as illustrated here today, a lot of organizations that are contributing to that. But ultimately, we need to get broader public participation in achieving these goals. And so we're interested in how the base of awareness and participation that we've developed can be brought to bear on that development.
Great. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you joining us today, Jim. And I need another resolution, please. Okay, Tracy and Deb, all in favor? Carrie, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to 3.14. Oh, sorry. Yep, 3.13, Kawartha Field Naturalist. Miss Scruton, I'm not sure how to say your name. I don't want to butcher it, so maybe you introduce yourself.
Certainly. My name is Gerarda Scruton. It's Gerarda, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about the Kawartha Field Naturalist, and also for expanding my awareness of all the great work that's being done in the city of Kawartha Lakes. The Kawartha Field Naturalist is a volunteer, nonprofit organization dedicated to the preservation of our heritage. Our objectives are to foster public interest and appreciation of nature, to educate club members and others about nature, to promote environmental protection, to encourage wise stewardship, and to appeal to a broad demographic. So we're more of a huge umbrella organization. We're not focused on waterfronts or particular trails or whatnot, but we do provide as much support as we can with our small little group. Are very proud of the fact that every year we sponsor students to go to the Ontario Nature Youth Camps, and the letters they write us, these are 16-year-old, 18-year-olds who discover that being involved in nature doesn't mean that you're a nerd or a geek, and there are others like you, and they're being motivated and inspired to do environmental work in their own, and which is really great. We are a member of Ontario Nature, and we are the stewards of the Altberg Wildlife Nature, which is just east of Norland on the Monk Road. And it's open to all. It's fabulous. It's the largest of the nature reserves of Ontario Nature. And because it's so large, we have interior forests. So there are many different species that are not regularly available. Students from Sanford Fleming come here to monitor salamanders, to do surveys, we've had very extensive mushroom, fungi identification and whatnot. So that's been great. We're also stewards of the Alberta Wetland Reserve, which is just by Victoria Road, and smaller little other projects. I will say just that with COVID, so many of our things are shut down. We can't do group meetings. We can't do this. We can't do that. But what we have done is utilize the power of the internet, I guess, and we do nature notes. And often at meetings, somebody might say, oh, I saw a Wilson snipe or something or other. And I'd say, oh, when I go home, I'm going to look that up. But now, because nature notes arrive in my email, there's the picture or there's the description. So it's been a very good learning activity for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Gerarda. I need another motion, folks. Okay, Doug, Ginny, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move down to our last 3.14, Kawartha Conservation, Erin McGregor.
Hi, everyone. I'll try and make it a little quick because I know we're running behind. So I'm Erin. I'm the Resources Planner Technician at KRCA, and I'm also the KRCA representative on CLIAC. So Kawartha Conservation, we are a nonprofit watershed-based management organization, one of 36 in the province, established under the Conservation Authorities Act. We manage and regulate natural resource features through watershed planning, stewardship, environmental monitoring, and research, and management of natural resources. And we primarily focus upon the management of water resources. The vision of Kawartha Conservation is the protection and enhancement of natural heritage features to ensure a sustainable watershed with clean and abundant water with natural resources assured for future generations. So I'll go through some of the activities, projects, and initiatives we're doing. So we have some citizen science programs. So we rely on the help of volunteers for some of our monitoring projects, which include nearshore monitoring and groundwater monitoring. We have lake enhancement projects and lake management plans. I'll just go through some of the objectives of our lake management plans. It includes protecting and improving water quality in lakes and tributaries, maintaining healthy aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, improving the aesthetic values of the lake, enhancing opportunities for public, fostering the community's understanding and awareness, promoting environmentally sustainable use of the lakes, and maintaining ongoing monitoring and research. And we use our findings from these various projects to help guide official plan policies, bylaws, and other strategic planning documents. We currently have a climate change strategy. Climate change is one of our biggest concerns. One of our responsibilities is flood forecasting. And so from climate change, we're seeing more frequent and severe flooding events. And I'll just finish by also talking about our work with Forests Ontario. We're working on implementing their 50 million tree program. So we find locations for large scale tree planting. And I'll leave it at that. So thanks.
Great, thanks, Erin. And one final motion here. Deb and Doug. Okay, all in favor? Carried. So I guess this moves us on to the exciting part. We might run a little bit over we'll see how it goes, but so we're going to start the roundtable, and Tracy's going to look after this part of the meeting.
Great, thanks, Pat. I think just listening to all the speakers today, I think we can recognize a few things that were said today. There's some collaboration going on within the groups and reaching out and having partnerships with it, which I think is fantastic. I think we've all had some COVID challenges in the last year that we recognize too. Before we put out there a couple of questions, I was wondering if we could just to ask Richard Hawley, maybe just to give us an update on the active transportation and the timeline, because that did come up numerous times throughout the deputations today.
Certainly, thank you, and thank you, Councillor Richardson, and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see so many faces and to hear all the work that's being done out here. And I know that many of you have been actively waiting for the Active Transportation Master Plan. I can say it's supposed to be posted to our website today. So I'm going to take a look probably in a couple of hours to see whether it's gone up. But obviously, it's quite a big plan to deal with active transportation throughout the city. We're looking to have a consultant do the work for us, and we've budgeted $100,000 for that work. So it will be a well-funded, substantial plan. We're looking at the study timeline to go about 12 to 18 months. So we're taking our time with this. To make sure that we consult with everybody, to make sure that we're canvassing everybody, looking at what we have, taking a look at what we need, and seeing where we need to go and how to get there. Obviously, implementation is going to be a big part of that study. So my goal has always been with this type of study to make sure that the policies work with our transportation policies as well, so that we if we are looking for multi-trails, or if we're looking for active transportation facilities or infrastructure within our road allowances, that our road allowances are going to be wide enough, and that we pair that off with the Transportation Master Plan as well, so that we have the proper policies that go into our official plan, so that we take the roads that we need and the appropriate widths that we do. One of the things that we want to make sure is that these policies are going to be robust and that they do get into our new official plan. We will be starting that new official plan likely in the next year or late next year. So there is a lot of stuff happening. And I would say this is one of the foundational studies that is going to be part of our overall official plan review, and will help to deliver active transportation facilities to the city. So happy to answer any questions if you have any, but thank you very much, and look forward to seeing your involvement in this plan.
So is there any questions from the floor right now to Richard Hawley? Art?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Richard for the way he responded very quickly to our questions about the active transportation plan after Chris left. We thought it was kind of went into a black hole somewhere, and obviously it didn't. So thank you, Richard, for grabbing hold of that and going forward. It's a long timeline. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get some action as the plan is developed that may start to make a difference in the city. It would be nice, because we've been talking about active transportation plans since we did the sustainability plan, which I think some of you know about, that didn't seem to go anywhere. And that was a tremendous effort by a lot of volunteers. And you lose the volunteers pretty quickly when nothing happens. So I think this is really important. And as a club, we'll definitely be very much involved in any way we can to help drive it forward. Thank you.
Richard, John Bush here. Nice to see you.
Nice to see
you
too.
And I just wanted to reiterate or confirm that the active transportation plan that we did for Bob Cajun will be referenced or part of the plan for the larger city of Kawartha Lakes, because a lot of the nuts and bolts have already been assembled or fleshed out by very professional consultants already.
Yes, it will be. We have a long list of documents in there, and it will be referenced. I'm not sure if we're going to reference it or replicate it or how we're going to do it, but that's something that our consultant will sort of give us some advice on. But definitely, the work that EAB did, Bob Cajun, is pretty foundational to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Fetty?
Richard's on mute.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay. I want to also say my thank you to senior staff at the city in general, and Richard Hawley, to you in particular, for all the help that you gave us with the Bob Cajun Active Transportation Plan. I had a question with regard to the city's tree canopy plan, or urban tree plan. Is there one?
So we have been working on a tree bylaw. Unfortunately, sorry about that. So as I started saying, we had been working on a tree bylaw. We had a roadmap set out that we were going to do a consultation piece on that. Unfortunately, the planner that had been working with us on that has left the city and gone to the province. So we are looking for a replacement for that person right now. That has bumped that tree bylaw back somewhat until we get staff back up. But it is our intent to start some of that work later on this year again.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I think today too, you want to drill out some ideas that CLIAC can grab a hold of and, use as an initiative moving forward. Do any of the CLIAC members want to have a conversation about anything particular? I know trees are mentioned, trails are mentioned quite often, shorelines. Ginny?
I'm really interested in the tree canopy stuff. And I was just wondering how much emphasis is there on planting natives, because we're learning more and more that it's important to plant native plants and native trees. So that's one. And then also with the trails, the Trans-Canada Trail Kawartha group, talking about that corridor and the green corridor, that's a potential there. Perhaps, I don't know, I'm throwing it out there and I shouldn't speak for the group, but bee gardens, pollinator pathways along the trail, native plants that will help our birds and our insects and that sort of thing along 53 kilometers of trail. That's really exciting to me. I don't know. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Tracy, and I was just going to say that goes along with trees, trails, and shorelines. What Chris Appleton was talking about, and what Aaron is involved in through Kawartha Conservation. It's all linked, really. Building up shorelines, building up trails with trees and shrubs and native species. I think it's all linked.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a comment about native plantings too. I mean, especially with climate change, you have to be able to seed source. And when you're seed sourcing and growing trees and plants in our area, you want them to be as strong as you possibly can have them. I mean, we definitely have seen a huge shift in what we can grow locally just because we're having these warmer, drier conditions than we used to have. For example, we can grow sycamores now that we couldn't grow 8 years ago. So it's now become like a native tree for this area. In a different, used in the proper context, of course, too. But I think I would like to go back to our tree canopy project. They've done a tremendous amount of research, and maybe they have some ideas that we can talk about maybe going down through the corridor.
Thanks, Tracy. I'll hop in. It's Amy, everybody. And that's been one of our benefits of working with Fleming College. So here actually in this pilot project for the Canopy project here on the BGC property, we actually have a management plan that the students have developed for us as well that gives us a full range of recommended species and all the reasons why. I mean, they've done the analysis of our site. They've looked at things like they've done the soil test samples and what some of the conditions are around our site, including things like salt on the roads and how that impacts our trees, etc. So, and also the native species. So I don't know if there's a way to, the knowledge at Fleming College and the opportunity to work with students where they get the practical skills in helping to guide some of these organizations or projects, I think is at least proven here. It was a huge bonus. So that might be something that we could do. And I'll also mention, so one of the teachers has referred us actually to a list of species that the city of Peterborough generally uses. So I don't know personally, and you can, Richard or someone can correct me, if there's actually a list of species that the city of Kawartha Lakes has recommended for public spaces that might be able to draw on some of those native species and those that are better suited for our area. So that would kind of throwing back a question at you too.
So thanks, Amy. I'm not aware that we have anything official. I do know that when we process subdivision plans and site plans, we ask the consultants for native species to the greatest extent possible, or salt tolerant or drought resistant plants as well. In some cases, we are also maybe trying to do some xeriscaping to try to make things a little bit more sustainable from that end. But I'm not sure yet that we have an actual list that we are handing out. I do know, as you mentioned, Peterborough. I know when I was in Clarington, we had a list like that as well that we handed out. So something that I'll talk to our community services department about.
Yeah, and I was just going to note that Ryan Smith, who works for community service, he's super knowledgeable. I know if you're going to be doing anything park related or whatnot, even when we did some tree change out at the arenas, the city gave us recommendations of what to use. I don't know, is Josh available to make any comment regarding Sir Sanford Fleming and the students and the knowledge that we could possibly use from there?
Oh, I haven't seen him. Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities through a variety of different programs. So it's just a matter of being aware of what people are looking for in terms of knowledge and work to be done. And then, we can connect with the appropriate program. So I think a lot of the collaboration with the Canopy Project was with the urban forestry and maybe forestry program. But there's projects ranging from, GIS and mapping with the GIS specialist program right through to, forestry, ecosystem management. So it's just a matter of each group that's out there being aware of what they're looking for, and then connecting with the college, and we can, or maybe connecting with CLIAC and I can connect them with the appropriate contacts there.
That's super, thank you. Oh, John?
On several different levels, now that I'm in Bobcaygeon, I used to be in the region of Halton, which was a large footprint. Now I'm in Bobcaygeon, and that's my focus. Every city and community needs a mosaic of development and natural areas and parks, schools, etc. And what we're seeing more and more is there's a strong interest in having a trail system or a walking system, active transportation, whether it's on sidewalks or it's in the forest. There needs to be something that connects all of the dots within a community. And since we built Wilderness Park and then another trail at Settlers Village, the feedback has been terrific. There hasn't been anything in a forested environment where you can get out and enjoy nature, get exercise, but you're still within town. Kudos to all the work they've done in Lindsay with their Trail Alliance and so on there. But each little community, every healthy community, needs a mosaic and connections to each of the dots. And one of the best ways is in a natural forested trail environment. I'll just put that out. And I think we can all contribute to that. We're already doing that, but a lot of us.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And I think, like you said, even putting this out today, makes people think differently. Wait a minute, I might have that opportunity in my community. And, they can connect with some of the people that are on this call today. And that's, again, creating those connections and, building the City Kawartha Lakes into a positive forward. Is there any other more dialogue on, John?
Thank you, Councillor Richards. I want to agree with, I think, everything that's been said, and just kind of add to it to say that what we're finding at Kawartha Land Trust, and obviously we're interested in permanent protection of land. We see that the development of trail systems on our lands is a huge benefit to the community, but also a huge rallying cry for people. And so as we're looking at new lands, it's a lot easier to get public support around protecting property if there's access to it. And so if we're looking at within the city of Kawartha Lakes and maybe basing something off the Trans-Canada Trail or elsewhere, I think there's an additional opportunity beyond just looking at that individual trail and the corridor that it creates. And I think that's a great way to summarize and talk about trails, but to also look for those corridors to connect with each other. So taking John's idea that, within each community, we need to be able to connect, but we also need to connect between communities. And you may not have an accessible trail through that entire area to connect Lindsay to Bobcaygeon, for example, but there's an awful lot of, there's an awful lot of natural space already. There are an awful lot of trails that are kind of informally in existence. And one of the things that we've had some great success doing is working with the private landowners who own those lands that those trails are on and formalizing those networks. So I think if that's the type of project that we're looking at, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we should be trying to connect natural areas rather than just trail linkages for people, because that way we bring in the biodiversity, we bring in the climate change adaptation and mitigation, and we bring in lots of other great pieces too. And we're piloting a project right now in Fleetwood Creek where we do work with private landowners to help them become better stewards of their land, better understand the land, the role that their land plays in the broader ecosystem. And we're finding that that's a really great project to get us in front of and talking to landowners, connecting them with people like Kawartha Conservation to make use of the projects that exist there, connecting them with Fleming College to make use of students where that's appropriate. And that's something that certainly that could be expanded further out with an eye to looking for linkages and corridors and finding those bits of nature that still exist and connecting them with each other, which is a big part of having an ecosystem as opposed to a bunch of eco zones.
Well said, well said.
Very well said. It just shows you that, broader public participation, and we can start, look, because City of Kawartha Lakes is huge. It's the second largest municipality in Ontario. So we have some opportunities here. Okay, Richard.
One of the suggested topics was challenges that our organizations are facing. And I cannot pass up this opportunity to say that one of the challenges that Environmental Action Bobcaygeon in general is facing, and our active transportation plan in particular is facing, is the ridiculous recommendation of the ORV task force that ATVs be introduced onto all streets in Bobcaygeon. So, Councillor Richardson, you're in
in the hot seat.
A challenging position, but you are on both City Council and CLIAC. And one of the things that you might do to be helpful to the environment in general and to Environmental Action Bobcaygeon in general and active transportation in particular is please vote no. Thank you.
You know what? I knew today was going to be that hot button would come up, and in all respect, I did volunteer for that committee. I was, trying to wear two hats. I'm an active walker and cyclist, so is my family. We're not off-road vehicle owners. I recognize that this, sport has grown so big that it's hard to manage it. So I was just trying to, look for some reasonable restrictions and solutions to help manage that growth. So yes, I'm wearing two hats, and I appreciate your comments as well. So thank you.
Good. I'd like to see it grow too. I think it can be very helpful to our community and the economy, but have it grow off-road, expand the trails. I think it's a wonderful thing for people who enjoy that activity, but enjoy it off-road. Don't bring it onto the roads that we're trying to make safer for walking and cycling and having a cleaner environment. We work very hard on that active transportation plan. This is counter. It's diametrically opposed. Sorry, I got a little bit angry.
No, that's okay. And we have scaled it back quite a bit, but I do take your comments and I do, you know, I appreciate it. I
Keep
do.
going. You're going in the right, if you're scaling it back, you're going in the right direction.
We are scaling it back. And I like I said, it's a contentious issue. And, you know, I put myself into that forum. So I've got to be able to take the heat too. So that's not a problem, Richard. Okay, is there any more conversation regarding lake management plans approved by council? Like, I do want to give a big shout out to both Chris Appleton and Aaron at this time, because things are definitely moving in the right direction. I didn't know if Chris wanted to add anything else today in the conversation.
Not to add, just to reinforce, managing the shorelines, I think is a huge issue for us. And I think we should really put our efforts into that. It's been discussed now for about a decade. And as I keep saying, now's the time. So let's do it.
And you're right. And there's a significant amount of growth out there right now too, as well, right? That we have to take into consideration. Ron, do you have your hand up there?
Yeah, just to add that we are very appreciative of Lake Dalrymple being a part of the lake management system. It's good timing for dealing with that, and it certainly ties into one of the other difficult issues that the city has had to respond to, which is the importation and dumping of fill, because the fill site in question is very close to and hydrologically connected to the lake, and so the contaminants within that fill are likely to be moving lakewards, and I hope that will be part of the lake management plan. I'm sure it will be.
Oh, Al. Oh, Pat and Al. I'll go Al first. Oh, you're on mute there.
I just want to support what Mr. Fetty was just saying, Richard. I hate to pick on you, Tracy, but there's a lot more implication here than just the short term, you know, and we have to look at the long term. And I live in Lindsay in Springdale Gardens, where there's hundreds of houses being built. You know, are we going to go back in 2 years' time and stop the off-road vehicles? Once you open up the door, then it's really hard to close it. So I'm sorry, but it is a source point for me, who's lived here for 40 some odd years, and a lot of other people. So this is an opportunity to support Richard's comments, but at the same time, you know, we have you said the second largest municipality, and there's lots of room. It doesn't necessarily have to be in our urban areas.
No, and like I said, I recognize that. And I said, you know, when the province brought Bill 107 to the table, it took them 18 months, and they said, you know, why are we doing this, right? So we at the time recognized that the growth has grown so much. We just said, is this an opportunity to see if we can come up with some, you know, reasonable restrictions to manage this growth? So again, yes, we've dialed it back. I know not everybody's happy about it, but it's, you know, it's a hard one, that's for sure. I'm not going to say it's not.
Okay.
I have one. Councillor Richardson, if I may. Yes. I note that, and this has been a standard for a long time, I believe, when housing developments are approved, the developers are often required to give 10% of their land to parks or cash in lieu. And I'm not sure today with development, the influx of housing that's going to come to the city of Kawartha Lakes, that I expect most of the developers are going to say, well, we're not going to give you any land because we can build it up and make a fortune. So we're just give you some cash in lieu of parks. Case in point is at Settlers Village. There's a lovely piece of forest on the north end of the currently developed subdivision, and they're about to double that. But however, there's a nice triangle of forest, pretty mature forest, that I hear is just going to be cut down because they want to maximize all the lots, as opposed to linking it to the existing forest at Settlers Village, which would give you one of those corridors and contributing more to a forest ecosystem for all of its benefits, not to mention all the people that are walking the trail up there now. Perhaps this should be directed to Richard Hawley. Is there a push, Richard, by developers to maximize every square inch right now because of the dollars they can get back, as opposed to giving that portion of natural area to the city for parkland or, you know, expanding a forest environment, et cetera?
Hi, John. Thanks. That's a great question. I think if I'm going to answer truthfully, developers have always pushed to try to get as much as they can. So I'm not sure that that's necessarily a new direction. However, a lot of lands, in order for us to get parklands, they have to be designated as such in the official plan, and they provide us 5% of their land, of their land area, either in land of the site development or in cash. So the city takes a look at what its needs are to determine whether they need to take additional land or whether they're going to take the cash. Now, typically, if there is no park dedication on that property or as part of a greater area, we would typically not take land, because one of the issues for us from an administrative perspective and from a financial perspective is having a number of smaller parkettes is hard to manage. So from that perspective, we work closely with our community services department to determine what their needs are, and they really sort of tell us whether or not they need additional land. But the main part that I want to sort of say to everybody is that typically we don't take land, we don't take smaller chunks of land unless it's designated for park purposes.
Oh, I see. So even with the movement with the Kawartha Naturally Connected that points out all of those natural green spaces that should be preserved, it's not necessarily in the mix yet when reviewing subdivision agreements or approvals, so that nothing's missed, because that little bit of forest, and it's just an example, that little bit of forest would be a wonderful extension to the forest that's already there at Settlers Village for hundreds of years to come. If it's gone, it's gone. Just pointing it out. Right. I just wonder if enough thought is put into that sort of thing.
Well, again, it really means then that the city would likely have to purchase that land, not at park value, but at a residential development value.
Oh, so it's the developer's choice. You don't have a say whether it's cash or land?
Well, no, what I'm saying is if I believe that piece of property is not designated as parkland, it's designated as residential development potential, right? So from that perspective, the city would have to pay a lot more money if we wanted to obtain that land. I
see. So I should have come forward sooner, and maybe there could have been an exception to the rule.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the designations and having that as I said, the connectivity piece in place. You know, where are our parks? Where are the linkages between those parks? So we do have to have those policies in place. I think there's a much more rigorous policy framework that would be coming forward through the secondary plans once those.
Okay, so that's the bigger picture. I shouldn't zero in on just one, but that's just one example. So it's a bigger picture, right, obviously, and that needs to be addressed.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I've seen quite a few people had to log off because they have 4 o'clock meetings. We didn't start till quarter after. Do you want to just keep going? Is everybody else fine, or?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we're good. I was wondering, maybe one of the speaking items is, what opportunities do we have, cooperative action do we see today? Does anybody want to talk about, you know, making connections and partnerships?
Me again?
John?
Well, I've already, I spent a lot of time chatting with John Kinter, and we try to come up with things that we can do to assist each other. And of course, John with the Canopy project and Lindsay, working with him. And let's see, who else is on the picture? There's been several that we've tried to work with and share ideas, but it's been difficult to really share our energies or our volunteers. But we're always open to ideas. One of our biggest problems is insurance for a not-for-profit. And we need insurance for our board of directors and so on. And we met with, I think, Jim Armstrong in Fenelon Falls, but he's created a co-op, or his group has created a co-op, so that other small organizations like ours have insurance for our directors and officers. But it meant that we had to have a member of our group on his board, and they had to say yay or nay to each project that we might want to undertake. So we didn't see that as a good fit. Talking to the city, I'm wondering whether if there is some way of piggybacking on their insurance as a not-for-profit without costing them millions of dollars a year, but keeping our organizations going, because frankly, we do a lot of good work for the city of Kawartha Lakes. All of these groups do. Any thoughts on that from anybody else around the table?
Without question.
I think it needs to go to Richard. I'm pretty sure, like, I tried that many eons ago, John, and then that was a big no. So, but let's hear it from Richard.
Yeah, I don't think that's a possibility, simply because the city's insurance sort of covers city employees. And unfortunately, if you're not a city employee, I don't think that our insurance would cover other sort of nonprofit groups and organizations within the city.
I'd be happy to get a paycheck from the city. Call me an employee.
You do lots of work.
Anyone else have any input? No other suggestions? Okay.
I think it, there's lots of different groups, I think, that can come together for an initiative. I think what I'm hearing is green spaces, trees. I mean, the lake management plans that have been approved by council have in that a shoreline, tree preservation bylaw that is part of the lake management plans. So I know Richard is saying it's going to take a little bit more time. You need some more staff to move that, but I think it's all linked, and green trails and green shorelines and all that is there's lots of continuity, I think, and it would be nice from my perspective also is that many years ago the lake management plans came out of this kind of forum. So we'll look at everything, and I think this is just the start of a really a good alliance for everybody for today.
I agree. I mean, you're just it's creating awareness amongst all the groups, which is fantastic. Okay, and I see Glenda.
Yeah,
Glenda's waving.
Yeah, if I may, just if you're keeping track of kinds of partnerships that I think could work really well, certainly walk Lindsay with two things I think could be really strong. One, the cycling club for sure, because right now by default, I will say pretty close to hundreds, but lots and lots of cyclists by default are using the sidewalks. I can't blame them, because it's absolutely hazardous to be on a road in Lindsay on your bicycle, but having them on the sidewalks is hazardous for those of us who are walking. So anything we can do to get those cyclists in a safe place that isn't the sidewalk would be, mutually beneficial. And the second one would be transit. And it's kind of a shame maybe if, to have had transit here would have been really useful, because I think as far as an environmental strategy that our transit system is underutilized. And, you know, every trip a person takes on the bus is a car that doesn't have to be there. And again, as far as the businesses are concerned, they don't have to provide a parking spot for them, but to better integrate the opportunities for people to use the buses, you know, and I get these crazy ideas, but I'm sure that the actual revenue that comes in from the fares has got to be so negligible that if we made it a free service, you know, and a shuttle, sometimes I thought just going up and down Kent Street so that, you know, even people coming in from out of town, they stop once and then they're going to Service Ontario and then they're going down to the downtown Lindsay. But anyway, just lots of opportunities, I think, there for partnerships to really be productive.
No, and I want to agree with you that our transit actually had grown leaps and bounds the last few years up to COVID. It was actually, you know, we had to add additional routes and more people were using it. But I think this last year is just, you know, tapered it right off because of, you know, cautionary policy.
Yeah, unfortunately, because people get out of the habit, it's hard to get back into a new habit.
100%. I think we all need to get back into new habits, right?
Yeah.
Art, did I see your hand, Art, or?
Yes, I did have my hand up. It was just to John's point about insurance. We do have full insurance in our club. Every member is insured, but we also have directors and officers insurance. And it's not terribly expensive. So there might be a way to have some kind of a membership fee in Bobcaygeon or something like that that helps it out, where you can get that kind of insurance. That's all I'm saying. Without a lot of strings attached, frankly, so that might be quite useful for you. I do agree with Glenda in terms of the riding. Part of the problem with cyclists is that they don't know how to ride. They have no idea how to ride on a street, and they don't act like a car, and they should be. So there's a tremendous amount of training that can go forward, and it can make it a lot safer for drivers and for cyclists. And we find about 80% of crashes or problems between a cyclist and a vehicle is the cyclist is definitely involved in that problem. Like they own it. And if they knew how to properly ride, what they have to do when they're on a road, they would find it far easier to ride even a bicycle in Lindsay.
Yeah,
going on a sidewalk.
I mean, pipe in this. One of the items in the survey for the police services was a question about police officers on bicycles. And I think if they are, and they can model good cycling behavior, that really can be helpful too. I really like the idea of seeing police officers on bikes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hi, it's Amy. Sorry, you can't
there
see
you are.
me.
Sorry.
I look so small there. Just two quick things. One, just to reiterate, the Canopy Project would love to hear about projects outside of Lindsay. So just to put that out there again. And this might be a little bit, this is sort of in the concept of dreaming a little bit, or maybe a little Pollyanna, but back to the comment about connecting our wildlife areas and connecting our trails systems within towns. You know, it's a funny thing. I don't know if anybody has had the opportunity to travel to the Peak District in England, but it's, I think there's 11,000 kilometers or miles maybe. They're in connected trails that go all through public and private properties. And it's this incredible trail network. And what we actually already have is this amazing trail network, which is for snowmobiles in the winter. And I know a lot of those go over private property, and there's a very, very well seasoned kind of approach to that, and with OFSC and their maintenance of the trails. But I've often wondered if that is not the basis of a potential connected walking network.
That's definitely, you know, can be explored a little bit further too, right? We can reach out to everyone and might be able to do some different things when we put our minds to it. I'm sure today all the CLIAC members have probably been taking notes. And I'm sure that we will, at our next meeting on May 27th, have a conversation about today's roundtable. Should we wrap up now, or is there anything else that needs to be spoken of today, or are we good? Everybody's looking good. Oh, Deborah.
Sorry, I don't want to hold anybody up, but I just wanted to hitchhike on what Al McPherson mentioned about the pollinator project with the Trans-Canada Trail down in Rayborough. I don't know if everyone's aware that the CLIAC has a subcommittee, a pollinator action committee. And so if, because we're part of Bee City Canada, we're always looking for projects that we can implement within the city that will support our membership to Bee City Canada, but also most importantly, create a pollinator pathway network within the city. So if any of your groups can think of areas and potential projects that we could partner with, that's always on the table as well.
Yes, thank you. Is that Pat? Did you want to say something there?
No, I just wanted to thank Deb for bringing that up. Bee City is, we're doing the second annual Be a Hero contest, and I think gets people out into their gardens and looks at pollinator gardens a little differently. So I'm hoping people will spread the word and participate. You can find information on Be a Hero contest on the website, the city website. So
I think a lot of people just through this pandemic have turned to gardening and have turned to looking at bee pollinators. I've seen a huge difference in how many people are doing sustainable, fruits and vegetables now in their own backyards again. So that's a real nice positive spin. I think we're pretty much timed out here. I just want to thank everybody again, all the community groups today, especially CLIAC for showing up today and bouncing some ideas off us. We've definitely got some more people involved, and we're recognizing some new focuses and some initiatives that the city and our groups can actually work towards. And I can't thank you enough today for everybody's comments and participation. It's been a fantastic. I was wondering how we were going to do our first virtual, but I think it turned out pretty good, and I want to thank everybody for that.
Yeah, thank you. And so I've got to finish this off with a motion to adjourn from CLIAC. Ginny and Doug, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Thank you.
And let's do this again soon. We're going to report back to all the participants after, as Tracy said, after we talk about our time here together at CLIAC next week. So we will send a little notification out to people.
Absolutely. And another shout out to Jamie. Say thank you for being the champion and bringing this to the table for us in 2021.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.